Asoranandana Jagannatham Nanda Jagannatham Yamunatira Manachari Yamunatira Manachari Radhamadava Yabihari Jaya Radhamadava Yabihari Gopi Janabala Bali Bala Gopi Janabala Bali Bala Asorana Kanabraja Jananam Asorana Kanabraja Jananam Yamunatira Manachari Yamunatira Manachari Jaya Radhamata Yatihari Jaya Radhamata Yatihari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha, Giri Hare Radha, Hare Radhe. Jaya Radha, Giri Hare Radha, Hare Radhe. Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra, Jaya Jagannath. Jaya Goranita, 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 Jaya Goranita, Jaya. Krishna Gora Hare Ba, Hare Ba, Hare Ba, Gora Hare Ba. I am Vishnu Bhat Paramaham. Continuing to read from Srila Prabhupada Leelamrita. Having visited half a dozen cities in a little more than a month's time, Srila Prabhupada was planning next to visit London. A dozen cities in a month, in a little more than a month's time. Clearly, his field had become the entire world, and his traveling was the practical enactment of his conviction that Krishna consciousness should be given to people everywhere. Prabhupada's wide traveling and bold preaching, by Prabhupada's wide traveling and bold preaching, the old idea that the Bhagavad Gita and Krishna were only for the Hindus had become an anachronism, a prejudice. Barriers of race, religion, nation, sex, class, all were now down. Hindus saying that a Swami should not cross the ocean had become a superstition. Indeed, perhaps to protect lesser Swamis, but certainly never to restrict the message of the absolute truth from being spread. Prabhupada was merciful to everyone, everywhere. Therefore, he was Jagat Guru, the spiritual master for the entire world. To become Jagat Guru didn't mean to claim that one was better than everyone else or that he was the best guru. Jagat Guru meant that, like Narad Muni, a preacher of Krishna consciousness went everywhere, preached everywhere, and had disciples everywhere, and Srila Prabhupada did that. An important point made there. What's the actual meaning of the context of the term Jagat Guru? We had a poster in Melbourne, I remember, from when Prabhupada was coming. Prabhupada, Jagat Guru. And here, the Jagat Guru generally means the master at whose feet all other masters sit. But here, actually, Jagat Guru can also mean, the Jagat means the universe, one who travels everywhere and spreads the message of Krishna consciousness. That is a Jagat Guru. On arriving at one US airport, Srila Prabhupada had mentioned that the yogis had formerly traveled in 3 different ways: by flying carpet, by pigeons, and by mantra. Then why have you come today on American Airlines? The reporter had challenged. Just to be one with you. Srila Prabhupada said, smiling. Prabhupada had a routine of translating Srimad Bhagavatam anywhere he went for at least a few hours a day. He had a briefcase with Sanskrit Bhagavatams and commentaries and a suitcase with a dictating machine. Wherever he was, he would rise in the middle of the night, sit at his desk and his dictating machine in Sanskrit and with his dictating machine in Sanskrit and Bengali volumes, and take up where he had left off, translating the verses into English, composing his Bhaktivedanta purports. Thus, his busy traveling and his translating were able to go on simultaneously. Prabhupada was very expert. He could accomplish many things just by traveling and spreading Krishna consciousness, translating and giving commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam, so on and so forth, showing the devotees by example. So many things Prabhupada taught us. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This morning we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 15, Text 12. Yasyadvare Bhagavan Arvaratma. Yasyadvare Bhagavan Arvaratma. Magoni Madhyat Guru Soma Pite. Shraddha Vishuddhachala Bhakti Yoga. Samapitejya Palamajahara. Yasyadvare Bhagavan Advaratma. Avaratma. Magoni Madhyat Guru Soma Pite. Shraddha Vishuddhachala Bhakti Yoga. Samapitijya Palamajahara. Yasyadvari Bhagavan Advaratma. Advaratma Magoni Madhyat Guru Somapite. Radha Vishuddhachala Bhakti Yoga. Shraddha Vishuddhachala Bhakti Yoga. No, Samapitejya Palamajahara. Someone else? Vaishnavi? Word for word. Yasya, of whom King Gaia, Advare, in his different sacrifices, Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Advara Atma, the Supreme Enjoyer of all sacrifices, the Yagya Purusha, Magoni, when King Indra, Madhyati, intoxicated, Uru, greatly, Somapite, drinking the intoxicant called Soma, Shraddha, by devotion, Vishuddha, purified, Achala, and steady, Bhakti Yoga, by devotional service, Samapita, offered, Idya, of worshipping, Palam, the result, Ajahara, accepted personally. Translation. In Maharaja Gaya's sacrifices, there was a great supply of the intoxicant known as Soma. King Indra used to come and become intoxicated by drinking large quantities of Soma Rasa. Also, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, the Yagya Purusha, also came and personally accepted all the sacrifices offered unto him with pure and firm devotion in the sacrificial arena. Purport: Maharaj Gaya was so perfect that he satisfied all the demigods who were headed by the heavenly king Indra. Lord Vishnu himself also personally came to the sacrificial arena to accept the offerings. Although Maharaj Gaya did not want them, he received all the blessings of the demigods and the Supreme Lord himself. Magoni Madhuru Somapite Shara Vishuddha Chala Bhakti Yoga Amapitejya Palam Ajahara. So, continuing to read about Maharaj Gaya, and for those who haven't or coming just this morning, Maharaj Gaya was actually an expansion of the Supreme Personality of God, an incarnation, a plenary portion, fully on the level of Vishnu Tattva. He was Vishnu Tattva and Svamsa and Amsa, expansions from the original Svamsa, the Amsa, the expansions of there, and those who come into the world are called avatars. And so there's Svamsa, Amsa, and Vibhinamsa, you and I are the living entity. So the Acharyas give a lot of descriptions about the different categories of spiritual energy and how they're differentiated from one another. Although qualitatively they're the same, but quantitatively they are different. So of course those who are Svamsa and Amsa plenary portions of the original plenary, they are in that topmost category of Vishnu Tattva. So Maharaj Gaya was like that. He was in this category. And we're reading about his wonderful qualities in the last few verses, how he was playing the role of the king. He had personally no desire for sense gratification. He was doing his duty very nicely. And ultimately, everyone was satisfied with him. In yesterday's verse, there was a description, even the Kshatriyas, that sometimes the kings would be wanting to conquer other kingdoms or go against the governance of Maharaj Gaya, who was the emperor, and just for the cohesion of governing over the whole area, Maharaj Gaya had to face them in battle, but he fought on the principles of Dharma, And so they fought, the kings fought with him, but they were defeated by Maharaj Gaya. But they very much appreciated Maharaj Gaya for his Dharma principles and fighting without attachment, doing his duty. So they subordinated to him and praised him. And here, as mentioned yesterday, they offered him all sorts of gifts at the end. But the Kshatriyas were satisfied, the Brahmanas were satisfied because he would do the yagyas that were required to maintain peace and prosperity in the kingdom. And so they were so much satisfied that they gave a sixth of their pious activities for the King Gaya's benefit in the next life, as we mentioned yesterday. Although King Gaya didn't really need that, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He doesn't need anyone's benefits to benefit him further. He's actually the supplier of the blessings and benedictions to everybody else. But the gesture is there, the humbleness and respect is there from the Brahmana community. And so they were very, very satisfied with him. And the Vaishyas were very satisfied with him because he sat and talked with them and made all facilities so they could go about their business activities. And the Sudra class, they were very satisfied. He gave them in charity whatever they needed. If someone was wanting, Maharaj Gaya would find out about it and he would give them whatever they needed. So all the sections of society were satisfied with Maharaj Gaya. I was saying yesterday that it's very, very difficult to achieve a position where everyone is satisfied. Of course, generally speaking, there's always someone who's not satisfied. And especially in Kali Yuga, practically everyone is not satisfied because they've got so many material desires, and material desires always remain ultimately unfulfilled. So because of that, they're frustrated and they're not satisfied, and very difficult to satisfy anyone in Kali Yuga. Therefore, the leaders are elected, and if there's some slight disagreement with them, they look to pull those leaders down and elect another one. But in the ancient times, we know that the leaders weren't elected like that. They were trained in the royal lines. The kings were trained right from when they were young. They learned all the different arts and sciences of the governance, and also developing their character and empowered personalities. And they're actually empowered. They're followers of a Dharma. And so they become empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. And some of them are like Raj Rishis, just like Maharaj Gaya. He was a Raja, he was a king, but he was a Raj Rishi, a very saintly king, very saintly. So this is the position of Maharaj Gaya, and all wonderful qualities. The demigods would come, and we previously read the demigods would come and bathe when there was some ceremony and some abhishek. The king and the queen would sit and they would be bathed, and even the demigods came and bathed him. So and here it's continuing on here in this verse that in Maharaj Gaya's sacrifices. So it seemed that there was many different types of rituals, sacrifices, all meant ultimately to please the Jagya Purush. Yagya Purush means the enjoyer of all the yagyas. Actually, ultimately is Krishna. So one who's a devotee understands that very well. And all the offerings are directed to the Supreme Lord. And then sometimes in the different yagyas, the demigods are also glorified. But the prime object of worship and offering is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When in these different types, so many different types of sacrifices, all under the direction of the Brahmanas. The king was very expert, very intelligent. King Gaia was very intelligent and very expert in studying the Vedic literature and hearing the Vedic literature. The Brahmanas would come and recite before him. He personally would also study. As I said, he was Raj Rishi, so he's a very saintly king, and expansion of the Supreme Personality, but he was the incarnation of the Supreme Lord. So here we're reading about when in some of Maharaj Gaya's sacrifices, there was Somarasa. Somarasa is generally offered to the Devas, especially King Indra, but all the Devas. Soma, as the name suggests, originally is from the Soma, the moon planet. The moon planet, there's a plant that grows there. It's a Soma plant. Now, I know in the modern era, you can go to India and get some Soma juice, what they call Soma juice. I don't know exactly what the ingredients are, but originally the Soma rasa, or the Soma juice, was from the moon planet. Somehow or other, Maharaj Gaya had it, and it was offered to the Devas because King Indra would drink it, and it's like an elixir. When you drink it, you get tejas, you get power. There's a lot of a description of King Indra when he was fighting against the asuras. The demons would attack, so he would drink a lot of this somarasa to give him more power, give him tejas. So the side effect, it is an intoxicant if you take a lot of it. Just like any rasayan, any Ayurvedic medicine, especially not all of them, but some of them especially are very powerful. But if you take too much, then it can have an intoxicating effect. And so King Indra and all the devas would, and in the yagyas, this was offered. So we see here that in yagyas, what is to be offered in the yagya, what mantras are meant to be chanted, what day and what time of the day, all these things were carefully considered. It wasn't just made up or imagined how to do this yagya. It was all according to the Shastra, all under the direction of the Brahmanas, of what to offer. I mean, if one is worshipping Lord Shiva, as I said, Jagya Purusha is ultimately Lord Vishnu, but someone may be worshipping Lord Shiva. So there's particular mantras to follow, and there's particular things to offer to Lord Shiva. and particular times of day and week and so on and so forth to make these offerings to Lord Shiva. So one has to know these things. So there are those who are amongst the Brahmanas who specialize in these types of yajnas, and they know which mantras, what things to offer, what type of flowers even, what type of articles are meant to be offered, and with other demigods are slightly different. So one has to know these things, otherwise one can make a mistake and even offend the deva or whoever it is by chanting wrong mantras or offering things that are not appropriate and so on and so forth. But it appears here that in the sacrifices of Maharaja Gaya, he was offering, the offering was given in the yajna, and the demigods was so pleased, the demigods were so pleased that they used to come. This is very rare. It is said that the demigods don't come in the Kali Yuga now because it's such a degraded age. And they just, they don't, but we read, and there are instances where some great personality was performing a yajna and the demigods themselves would come. Because we know the demigods live in higher planetary systems and they're far, far above Earth. They live, huge amounts of years their longevity is millions of years of our Earth years. So their lives are different. They don't experience the Satya Yuga or the Treta Yuga or Dwapara or the Kali Yuga. There's no yugas as far as the demigods. They're continuously in like a Satya Yuga or even higher, a Svarga Yuga, Svarga Yuga. But they're in the different ages, especially in the Satya Yuga, and great personalities would perform these types of rituals, ceremonies, yajnas, and so the demigods seeing and appreciating the personality who was the Yajman, the personality who was organizing, hosting it, and seeing the caliber of the Brahmins who were offering, making the offerings, chanting the mantras and making the offerings, and the actual atmosphere of the whole situation. Because the mantras would be chanted where different devas are worshipped or respected. Just like we have our Vaishnava homas, Vaishnava mantras, and the chief honorary person is Vishnu. But in worshipping Vishnu, other devas' names are mentioned in those homas. And so one can, we offer our respects to Lord Shiva, to Lord Brahma, to King Indra, and so on and so forth. So these devas' names are mentioned, but in relationship to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So these things need to be understood as devotees. We have to understand things just rightly. And when we're doing the yajna, we have to do it with care and learn. Prabhupada actually instructed that some of our devotees can become learned in these how to perform these different rituals, and then teach so many others how to also do them. So one can't speculate. One has to follow what is the direction, instructions, how to do the particular yajna. I remember when one of the first times I went to Indonesia, I was in Bali, and I just saw, because they worship the Buddhas, and they worship the ancestors, and they worship the devas, and they have injunctions of the road and all over different places of worship. So then they put offerings there. And as I was doing a japa walk one time, I passed a little area there, and I saw at the offering, there was a packet of cigarettes. A packet of cigarettes, and some beer. Over there they have the bintang, some beer. And I said, well, these are strange offerings. And they say, well, they think they figure that their ancestors would like a few cigarettes and some beer, and so they just put it in the offering. So this is all kind of speculation. It doesn't ultimately help the forefathers. Of course, if the forefathers are Buddhas or something like that, they can't even enjoy that. But so they just speculate. They speculate what is a nice offering. So they just throw those things in. But one actually follow very nicely what is the recommended procedure. If one is worshipping the Buddhas, then there's a certain procedure for doing that, and what the offerings are, and so on and so forth. And the same with the ancestors, forefathers, and same with the devas. And of course, ultimately, we need to worship Lord Vishnu. This is especially mentioned in the next verse, where you worship Lord Vishnu. Then everyone, the whole universe is satisfied, because when he's pleased, everyone being his devotee, then automatically everyone else is pleased. So you don't have to worship separately. So this point is made in the next verse. So here it is also mentioned that of course King Indra came to accept the offerings. You would expect other devas came if King Indra came. Generally, these devas come with big entourage. They don't just, general principle, they don't come by themselves. Just like anywhere in the world, any country where there's the prime minister, or where there's the governor or chief minister or minister. You know, I know in India, for example, if the prime minister goes to a function in a state, then the chief minister, by protocol, also has to attend that function. Because when we opened up our temple in Pune, the president came. So it's either the prime minister or the president also. If he goes somewhere, he's got his whole security and all people that come with him. So they came for our temple opening in Pune. And then the chief minister of the state, he came also, because that's the protocol. The president came there, he has to also come. So when devas come, they come with a whole entourage. So Indra came with the whole entourage, meaning he came and he accepted the offerings. And of course, at the yajna he accepted, and he was drinking it, personally drinking it. He accepted the somarasa. And here, we're also reading about Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu came. He's the Jagya Purush. He's the supreme worshipful person. He also came and accepted. He was so happy with Maharaj Gaya. Of course, Maharaj Gaya is his expansion, his incarnation. But nevertheless, they're different personalities, even though expanded. Just like we're also expanded from the Supreme Lord, but we're our own individuals. And so Maharaj Gaya was his own personality. So Lord Vishnu, who is the receiver of the yajnas, especially in each universe, that Lord Vishnu came and accepted. He personally accepted all the sacrifices offered unto him. So not only Indra, but Vishnu came. And he came, and especially mentioned here, the offerings were made with in a very pure. The word here is a vishuddha, very purified consciousness. Everyone was in a very purified consciousness. So the Supreme Personality of God, it appreciates that. Of course, he is the Lord of all, and he appreciates all living entities. He's awarding their actions, their reactions to actions, and arranging all facilities. But someone who's come up to the level of a pure consciousness, he very much appreciates. And also mentioned here, Shraddha, and also Achala, steady. Now here in the translation, Prabhupada translates it as very pure and firm devotion. Firm devotion. Shraddha. Shraddha means by devotion. He's Prabhupada translated here by devotion or with faith, and very steadily. You know, where devotees going on the path, so sometimes we have devotion, and other times we don't have much devotion. So it comes and goes, comes and goes. The Shraddha, that means the Ador Shraddha, the faith is not very mature yet. The faith and the trust and everything like that is not very mature. Ador Shraddha, Tata Sadhu, that becomes strong by Sadhu Sangha, by associating with devotees, engaging in the practice. So here it is especially mentioned that the Lord is not so attracted to the offerings themselves or the yajnas themselves. Can you imagine how many yajnas are done in the name of offering to Lord Vishnu? And he doesn't need any soma rasa or any other banana or mango or anything like that, whatever you're putting in the yajna. It's not that Lord Vishnu is desirous of mangoes. Oh, mangoes, I'm going to run down there and get some mangoes. He has everything. But especially he came because he saw the pure consciousness, and he saw the devotion, the Shraddha, and steady. very steady. Maharaj Gaya was very steady. He was always, it mentioned earlier that he was always jubilant because he was disentangled from the sense gratification of the material world, just disentangled. And he was doing his duty in the role of the king. This is very, very important to understand that one also has to follow like that, that when one has to do their duty. Now, in Varna and Ashram, there's different duties for the Brahmana, the Kshatriya, the Vaishya, the Sudra, and different duties for the different ashrams. So it's recommended that one does their duty. And as devotees also, we have our duties in Krishna consciousness, but we are doing our duty, our seva, our service, as an offering to the Supreme Lord, with that consciousness in mind. And in Bhagavad Gita, there's a very nice verse. Kamandhyavadikaraste ma paleshu karachana ma kama palahetu bhumate sangosvakamani. You have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities and never be attached to not doing your duty. So Prabhupada gives a very beautiful purport here in regard to duties. Main thing that when you do your duty without attachment. And he breaks it down. He says there are three considerations. There's prescribed duties, there's capricious work, and inaction. Now, prescribed duties are there, and there's general prescribed duties for all the varnas and ashrams. And of course, in devotional service, we have our seva that's prescribed, given to us by our guru, given to us by other devotees, and we render service. So we're rendering service just for offering that service to the Supreme Personality of God. We're not got some attachment to reaping the benefits of doing that service or anything like that. We're rendering the service and we're building up our love and affection in rendering that service. So same true in Varnashrama. Varnashrama, the Brahmanas, the Kshatriya, maybe a little bit different prescriptions for each one of them, but generally there's general principles for all. So prescribed duties are there, written by great rishis and maharishis. What are the prescribed duties for every varna and ashrama? And also as far as devotees are concerned, the different types of seva written to us by great acharyas. We follow the prescribed duties are given by them. So in both senses, in varna ashram and also with devotees, we follow in a prescribed way. Prescribed. This word is used quite often in our literatures. Prescribed. It's something that's prescribed. Just like if you go to the doctor, you're sick, he gives you the medicine. It's prescribed for you. You don't just go out and get your own medicine. Yeah, the doctor says, you're sick, I'll just go down the road and get some medicine. No, he gives you a prescription, and then you get that according to your script, or your prescription. And so you get those medicines because they're specific to your particular condition. And then if you take it just nicely as directed by the doctor also, take 2 tablets a day. You don't to get the bottle and take the whole bottle. Then right? You don't speculate on that type of thing. If you're sick, you go to the doctor, he gives you a prescription, and you get the medicine, and then you have to follow it according to the directions. It's right there on the bottle, isn't it? Right there on the bottle, just in case you forget. It's right there. Or just in case you've got any idea, it's right there. So you follow it. And then, so everyone, it's just common sense. It's common sense. Of course, you've got some individuals who'll just say, I'm not going to, I won't take any today, or I'll just take it next week. I'll take the whole lot right now. Why wait? I'll take the whole lot right now. So there's some individuals who may think like that, but the results won't be so good. But those who follow the prescription according to the directions given by the qualified person, then the results will come just naturally. It's common sense, but just naturally. So this is prescribed duty. Then Prabhupada describes about capricious work. Capricious work, so you don't follow anything. You don't follow anyone. You're just doing activities. It means actions without the sanction of authority. This is how Prabhupada defines. But people work like that. Just as they like, they do work like that. And inaction means just not doing your prescribed duties. So Arjuna in this section rather Krishna describes to Arjuna, you don't want to take any action as far as doing your duty and fighting the battle at Kurukshetra here. So that is neglect, that is inaction. That is not, that won't be auspicious for you. That won't be, the Lord advised Arjuna not to be inactive, but he had needed to perform his prescribed duty without attachment to the result. Without attachment to the result. One who is attached to the result of the work is the cause of the action. So, you know, if you're attached to, you want to get a result, so then you act to get that result. But in the prescribed duties, there is a duty. So it's the prescribed duties that cause you to act. You understand that? A little bit of a subtle difference. It's a prescribed duty. If you're a follower of prescribed duties, you'll act according to that. But if you're just you're very attached to the result, you cherry pick what prescribed duty, and you're the cause of it because you're very attached to the result of that thing. But when you're attached to the result, you'll feel happy when you get that result, or you feel distressed when that result doesn't come. That can also come in devotional service. So we just have to do our duty in seva, in service, and we leave all the results to Krishna. So this is the actual mentality, and this is the secret of living in the material world. You know, and Prabhupada actually mentions here the prescribed duties are generally according to one's nature. One's nature is there and ascertained right in the beginning of one's life. Of course, if you're born in a certain family, you may have a proclivity to go in that kind of vein of type of activities, but it's not necessarily the case. It is not based on janma. Guna karma is based on your qualities and the types of activities. There are many instances in the past where, you know, like Vishvamitra was a king, but then he did tapasya and he acted in such a way, he came to the position of Brahmana, of a Brahmana. So he went from Kshatriya to Brahmana because of his consciousness and activities, even though he appeared in the family of the royal order. And there's an instance, I remember another instance where Brihaspati, his sons, Brihaspati had a Gurukula where somebody came, but some of his sons weren't attending and they were off playing games and doing sporting activity and wrestling and doing all these activities. So he said, look, you have to come and attend school. You have to attend the Gurukula. A lot of lessons are being taught, but you're just being frivolous and just engaged like that. So they kind of ignored the father. They attended, then they didn't attend again, and they were off doing the same thing. So eventually the story is that he got angry with them and he cursed them. He cursed them and they became wrestlers. You like wrestling so much, that's your nature, become wrestlers. And it was actually these sons that became, who were those wrestlers in Krishna Lila? Yeah, and who's it? Yeah, the two wrestlers that wrestled with Krishna and Balaram, they became those wrestlers. So we see that Brahmin family and a Sudra. So according to your activities, your consciousness, that's how things are ascertained. So you can be going along according to a particular, just like Ajamil, born in a Brahmin family, very good Brahmin. In the beginning of the life, the description was, he was a very good Brahmana, very respectful, very humble, but he got attracted to the prostitute and gave up all the Brahminical activities. He became like a Sudra, engaging in not only illicit activity, but, you know, plundering people and taking their money and so on and so forth. So he wasn't a Brahmana anymore. You couldn't call him a Brahmana because he wasn't acting like a Brahmana. He was acting like a Sudra, or lower than a Sudra. So therefore, one has to perform the duty. So King Gaia was like that. He was performing his duty, and and without attachment. Even as far as blessings, it wasn't that he was seeking. Oh, if I do this yajna, maybe the demigods will come. They'll give me their blessings, and then I'll benefit so much. He wasn't even doing it, you know, for that purpose. He was just doing it as a matter of duty without attachment. So if you follow that principle, then you'll just do everything just rightly. But if you don't follow that principle, attach to the results of things, then you go back into the duality of life in the material world, whether you'll be happy, whether you'll be distressed, and so on and so forth. So that leads to further entanglement. So everyone appreciated that. They knew, the demigods knew King Gaia wasn't doing it for any personal prestige or to get some results from them. You know, I'll do this yajna and I'll specifically worship King Indra because, you know, maybe I'll get a lot of opulence from King Indra. I'll worship this one. And they start to favor one demigod over the other demigods, you know, start selecting which demigods to worship because this one gives more, that one gives less. I won't worship that one, and so on and so forth, because you're getting attached to the results. And so therefore the whole thing becomes checkered, becomes a whole checkered affair. But King Gaia wasn't like that, and everyone knew it, and so they came, but they gave blessings, not that he wanted them. And Lord Vishnu came, gave his blessing. So imagine you have the Supreme Personality of God to come to your yajna and give the blessings. So this was the position of King Gaia. So thank you very much for coming to the class today and listening to the story of King Gaia. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Thank you very much for the wonderful class, Maharaj. These activities that take place with the demigods and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, are they on the subtle plane or are they on the physical plane? These activities of the demigods visiting the earth.
They're seen. Is that what you...
Well, yeah, what I mean is, like, are they seen by everyone or are they only seen by a selected few? Like, are they on a subtle plane?
You have to see the particular situation, you know, where they appear. Some can see them and some can't see them according to their consciousness. But I mean, Indra has a particular type of body, and when they came, they were blessed. Sometimes the demigods can empower someone to actually see them, or hide themselves so they can't. They're not very qualified persons. And so same with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He comes in his form, which is actually a spiritual form, but he manifests a form and he blesses everyone that they can see him. And so when you read in the Bhagavatam, descriptions, and the Lord came and he was wearing yellow garments. He had a garland down to his knees practically, and there's descriptions. He had a crown, and so those who witnessed, they were actually seeing him. So he blesses them, just like Krishna tells Arjuna when he shows the universal form. Now I give you the eyes by which you can see this. Otherwise you couldn't see it. And where you can see all this in one place, all these things going on, I'll give you the eyes to see what's going on. So normally, you know, the gross people of the Kali Yuga, the demigods, even if they wanted to come, they couldn't see. They couldn't see the demigods. They're too gross. But in those times, King Gaia, obviously, and many of those who were there were very elevated personalities. So the demigods were very pleased, and they manifest forms, and they gave the ability to be able to see them when they came. And same with the Supreme Lord. When he came, they were able to have his darshan and see him and offer obeisances unto him directly. And he was directly accepting the offerings, and he was seen to be doing that. Very good question. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Any other questions? Yes. I have a hard time hearing you over here. I'm not quite getting it. There's a bit of an echo over here. Anyone who's closer can tell me? Oh, yeah. Okay. You can come closer. Yeah. Who was giving it? Oh, online. Okay. Yeah. Is it the mercy of the Lord that we don't have the good leaders? Well, no, because there's a bigger picture, because the Kali Yuga, and everything must go in a certain type of way, and the living entities who take birth in the Kali Yuga have these desires. So Krishna's fulfilling them. Krishna's fulfilling. So in one sense, is his mercy because he's allowing it, but that he's not. He's more happy when people come up to the mode of goodness rather than staying in the mode of ignorance. So he's fulfilling their desires, because these are desires they've had for many, many lives. So he's fulfilling them, but he doesn't. He wants them somehow or other that they can come up to the liberated platform. So then he comes, he gives the instruction. He comes as Lord Chaitanya, and Lord Chaitanya's representative. So then they can be purified. As far as devotees interacting with them, you have to be careful. Devotees should avoid situations where it causes someone to commit offense. And so therefore we have to speak just appropriately to different types of people, because as you said, the tendency is non-stop arguing and criticizing, and so kutinati. And also as devotees, we have to be careful. We've come from that background, and we come to be devotees, and we just continue with that. These are aparads that really inhibit one's advancement in devotional service. Krishna's not happy when you start criticizing someone. And there are certain senior mature devotees like the guru and senior sadhus who are meant to see to correct devotees when they're sometimes not doing something properly, but they're correcting them in a positive way to help them advance. So that's another thing that's constructive. But those devotees are designated to do that. It's not for everyone to do that. It's not that I can just correct whoever I want. Leave it to those devotees who are assigned to do that. Otherwise, that individual becomes overwhelmed with too many people. I remember one new bhakta came to me when I was the temple president in Melbourne many years ago, and he said, "I'm just sick and tired. Everyone's telling me what to do and criticizing I'm not doing it right." So everyone, all the bhaktas were on this devotee's case all the time. This one said that, another one said to do it a different way, and that's not right. And the other one said, "No, that's not. What's the other one saying that for?" So he was getting it constantly. So I had to. So I had to talk with everyone and say, look, don't act like that. New people are coming. They're trying to get away from that type of thing. And then they come into being devotee and they get the same thing, or maybe even worse. So we have to, our tendency is to criticize. Our tendency is to criticize. So you should drag yourself away from that and think positive things. If there needs to be some correction, and if something very urgently needs to be done, then you can approach someone who's responsible to correct the situation. That's the best way to do it. And Prabhupada actually mentions it. I was giving one class and Prabhupada actually mentions it in one purport. He said, just go and the devotees, the best course, I was in regard to Maharaj Chitraketu, in the case of when he went to Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva had Parvati on his lap, and he was like instructing the rishis. And so Maharaj Chitraketu was a great devotee, but he thought, how wonderful is Lord Shiva? He can just sit there and giving instruction, but he thought to actually correct Lord Shiva by saying some things and in a kind of a humorous way. But Prabhupada pointed out he wasn't in the position to do that. Even though and Lord Shiva understood it, he didn't mean any ill intent, but Prabhupada says that he was not in a sufficient high position to correct Lord Shiva, even though he needed no correction. So then Prabhupada commented, the best thing is to just mind your own business. He said, he didn't use that. He said, just stay in your own position. They were the words he used. Just stay in your own position. That will be, if something needs to be corrected, ultimately will be taken care of. So best to stay in your own position. Prabhupada cautioned, he said, it's just best. The Maharaj Chitraketu, of course, Parvati became angry with him. who are you to even in a joking way say something against my husband? Look, all these big rishis are sitting here. I'm on his lap. They're not saying anything. You know, big rishis, maharishis of the universe. They're sitting here listening, and you come along, and then you think you can correct. Now, Achittaketa was a good devotee, but he got the darshan of Lord Sankarshan, and so he became a little proud because he got the darshan of Lord Sankarshan. He had a little bit of pride in him, and he thought he was in a position to correct. So we have to be careful about that, especially senior personalities. We're junior and we want to correct them. Leave it to someone in similar god brother, god sister, or something like that. Someone who they can talk to. So don't take it upon yourself. So Prabhupada actually said, better to be. He said this. He said that better to be safe and stay in your own position. Better to be safe. Better to be safe, because safe means now Chitraketu had to get the curse from Parvati. Lord, he had got the curse to become Asura. But Chitraketu was a devotee. He realized immediately, I made a blunder, and he just accepted it. Lord Shiva spoke glorifying Chitraketu, but he accepted the curse, became Vritrasura. But then at the end of that life, he went directly back home to Lord Sankarshan. We were reading the story in one temple. I was giving a series of classes. So better play it safe, as Prabhupada says. Stay in your own position. Don't worry. If something's very catastrophic, you can bring it up to the right authorities who are dedicated. And even though those authorities have to be very careful also. Not that I'm dedicated, then I can just do it. No, you have to be very careful. Each situation has to be handled very cautiously. Okay, that was better when you were sitting closer. It made a big difference from way over there. Okay, yes, one last question.
In the customer so if money is in August, Brahma Sanskrit. So how do we do that?
Reading this previous purport. Where Prabhupada says here. In this age, as Bibhishana indicated, both Brahmanas and kings are in a wretched condition. Actually, there are no kings or Brahmanas in this age. And due to their absence, the whole world is in a chaotic condition and always in distress. So there's no Brahmanas. You know, in King Baina's time, they were actually qualified Brahmanas by mantra. They have to, kill the demoniac. He was a murderer. And so it went too far. And they installed him also because of his father was so disgusted with his own son, he just went to the forest. So then there was a period where there was no king, and then all the thieves and dacoits came up, and the murderers came up. So the Brahmanas said, we need someone strong to take care of all that. And so they installed him, but later on they saw, he's just gone right off here. He became a murderer and plunderer himself. So after some time, they realized we have to take action because no one else can stand up to him. But the Brahmanas can. At that time, the Brahmanas were very powerful. Just by mantra, they chanted a mantra, he was killed. So they had to do it as a last resort. This is a last resort, not immediately, but a last resort. So they killed him. So they were powerful then. They're proper Brahmanas, but now we're just Hare Krishna mantra, purify everyone. When you come in, you see that video of the Prime Minister when he came to the Holi last year, you're garlanding Prabhupada and everything like that. Was that the Holi when he came? Yeah. And he's got kind of shaved head. He looks like a real bhakta. I was looking at it first because I didn't recognize him. I thought, that's bhakta so-and-so. So by purification, somehow or other, hearing or attending functions, they come and they get purified. And then they have a change of heart. So that's in this age, that's how it's done. We don't need the Brahmanas. There was one devotee that we were getting harassed in Melbourne in the old days by one council officer. We were selling books and he always come and harass us and try to book us for not getting a proper license. So it was going on and on and on. So one devotee became so fed up with this guy, he got his brahmachari, so I'm going to curse him. and break. But you know, you're supposed to break his bread. That's hard enough as it is. But anyway, so then somehow or other, I think Madhavisa wrote to Prabhupada, and he said, look, and then Prabhupada actually wrote, he said, Vaishnavas don't curse like that. Only in rare circumstances, like maybe Nara, some special incident of Leela or something. It says Vaishnavas don't curse. As the Brahmanas, who is the Brahmanas actually? We told him, no, don't. That's not the way to do it. Jai, glory to Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol.
His Holiness Ramai Swami I SB.